Good morning, everybody. This week we're going to be working on ecosystems, and I'm going to take you on tours of different ecosystems throughout my area and maybe some in Massachusetts as well. So today we're going to start off with a backyard ecosystem. And everyone has an ecosystem where they live. It could be in your backyard, your front yard, the park nearby, wherever. So today we're going to start in my backyard, and I live in an apartment complex, but we still have a lot of different things going on. The first thing I wanted to show you, and I'm going to put this through the glass. I don't know if you can see. The first thing I want to show you is this bird's nest that's living on the downspout of my complex, and that's a robin, and she's obviously laid eggs and she's sitting on her eggs. So we're going to take a walk outside. Hopefully I won't disturb her, and we're going to keep track of her and her babies. They should be hatching very soon, I would say within the next couple of weeks. So we're going to take a walk down the walkway down to the river and look at some more things that we might find in the ecosystems. So this is my backyard, and I live along a river. It's called the Blackstone River, and it's in Rhode Island. And as you can see, there's a lot of vegetation, and maybe you can hear the birds chirping this morning. It's early in the morning. It's about 7:30 this morning, and the sun is out. It's a beautiful day, a little chilly. But as we walk around, what I'd like you to do is I want you to observe and jot down some things that you might think live in my ecosystem here, in my backyard ecosystem. I want you to look for abiotic, which means non-living things, and biotic, which means living things that could possibly live in this ecosystem. Again, it's my backyard. There's a lot of cars around, there's a lot of people around, but there are still animals that would live in this area. So notice the vegetation, different kinds of trees, there's grass, and we're coming upon an area where there's usually a lot of ducks and geese. I'm not sure if there's going to be any this morning. There's a duck right there. I don't want to scare them off. I don't know if you can see the duck and some birds. And they live along this riverbank. I'm going to take a walk down to the river. Maybe we can get a better look at some of these animals that are thriving. And they're here usually all year round, which is kind of cool. So we're going to walk down. There's some bird feeders, people in the complex. One man especially keeps the bird feeders filled so that they have food all year round. And there goes the ducks flying into the river. As I walk down, I want you to notice the different types of vegetation. Some of these trees, the roots are very, very shallow, but yet they still thrive. And here we are along the riverbank. There's rocks in the riverbank, and notice the vegetation that we'll find in this riverbank. Anyway, so as we look upriver, you can see get a better view of the waterfall. Now this river runs very fast at this particular spot, and as it moves downriver, it slows down. But there's another waterfall down at the end of this street at Slater Mill. And these waterfalls at one time powered electricity. There's an electrical powerhouse upriver. We're gonna see that in a minute. And downriver, where Slater Mill was the first textile manufacturing facility in the United States, and it was powered by water. So a little bit of history here. And here we are, some more trees, different kinds of trees, bird feeders, and a lot of different vegetation. Again, I want you to think about what you're seeing, what kind of vegetation, what kind of abiotic and biotic things you might find in this ecosystem. During the week, we're going to go to different ecosystems. I'm going to take you to an ocean ecosystem, to a pond ecosystem, and maybe a wooded area ecosystem. Again, this is my backyard. You have the same thing in your backyards. A lot, maybe different vegetation, but probably birds and other creatures. So here we are again. I'm going to take you down towards the riverbank, through the back here. Different types of vegetation. And they thrive wonderfully in this particular area. Now, some of these trees and bushes were probably planted when they developed this area. At one time, this was a mill complex. This was a textile mill, and it's now been converted into apartments and condominiums. There's some more vegetation. Here's a beautiful rhododendron plant that that's been planted in this area. There's some nice pink flowers, some white flowers. What do you see here? So we talked about asexual reproduction last week, and there was an example of a bumblebee passing along pollen. So I'm walking along the riverbank. I have to be careful because there's a lot of rocks here, and you obviously don't want to see me fall in. Or maybe you do, I don't know. But there's a lot of different vegetation here, and I have to duck under some trees. And a lot of flowering plants as well. So maybe you could look up what type of plants or what type of vegetation this might be. There are going to be some questions that I'm going to ask you after this video that you're going to have to answer. So just, again, jot down what your observations are, what you see, what you might think is here. Hear the birds chirping. There's different types of flowering plants as well. How do you suppose these plants reproduce? Think about that for a minute. Anyway, as we get closer to the waterfall, you can hear the waterfall, and I'm going to pan around and show you the waterfall. Here's a different kind of plant, different kind of flowering plant. And these buds, what do you think these buds on these plants, once they fall off, what do you think might happen to them? Or even now with the birds. Birds are laying their eggs, they're building their nests. And here's a nice grassy area that we have along the river. We come down here and sit a lot in the nice weather. Here we are at the waterfall. You can hear a nice roaring waterfall. The river's pretty high right now. We've had a lot of rain, so you're going to get a lot of water coming over the falls. When it's dry, the river is a little bit shallower. As I look upriver, as I take you upriver, you can see there's a lot of vegetation, even on both banks of the river, as well as how calm the water gets as we move upriver. Now this was one time the powerhouse. It used to produce electricity as the water flowed through and turned the turbines. I'm taking you now on the other side of the powerhouse into the river, where the river is actually pretty calm, and we may be able to see some different kind of animal life that is indigenous to this area, and hopefully we can see something. Here's the river upstream. It's rather calm here. It flows, but not too calm. A lot of people take their kayaks and canoes out here and paddle upriver into Lincoln and Cumberland. And this river goes all the way up to Blackstone, Massachusetts. I live close to the Massachusetts border anyway, so. And here's a lot more vegetation. Walk around here. Some people have their kayaks on the grassy area. Some birds, different types of birds. A lot of different types of birds live here. Think about what kind of creatures you may have, or organisms in itself, in your backyard. Here's overlooking the river a little bit in the bridge that actually crosses over into Massachusetts. I'm walking through some wooded area here. Again, this is in my backyard. Just pan across and show you there are the buildings. It's the old mill complex in this area. Now, a lot of these trees were planted, but most of these along the riverbank obviously were here. So I'm walking down towards a little culvert in the river where we might see some activity in the river itself. Hopefully. Again, it's early morning. The sun just came out a couple hours ago, and the water hasn't warmed up yet. During the day, you might see some, or later on in the spring, you may see some other types of activity. So there you have it. So I'm going to generate some questions, and I'm going to put them alongside this video. And tomorrow's lesson, what we're going to do is I'm going to demonstrate and show you how to make an ecosystem in a bottle. So we'll have a little lab activity tomorrow. So until tomorrow, I'll see you later, and you have a wonderful day. Be safe, and behave yourselves. Miss your faces. Talk to you later, and thanks for the memories.